Hello and welcome to another episode of Heart-Centered Conversations with me, Jane McDowell. And today, I have a fabulous guest, the fabulous Fanny Snaith. Hooray!
Hello.
Fanny, tell people about yourself.
Oh, tell people about myself. Well, I'm a lady, and I live in Cheltenham in the UK, and I'm a mum of two absolutely fantabulous girls, and I have a lovely husband as well. For my job, I am a money coach and have been for officially for 9 years now, and I'm also a therapist focusing on money as a first point of call. So my thing in the world really is to help us all feel more comfortable with money, to be
Yeah,
allowed to think and feel about money in a way that allows us to build wealth so that we can have enough money for ourselves so that we can look after ourselves from now until we go to wherever we go to next.
excellent. And also be able to talk about money, right? So, yeah,
And be able to talk about money with ease and grace.
like it. So tell me, Fanny, what is the book you have chosen to bring to today's conversation?
The book I have chosen to bring to today's conversation is The Soul of Money by
Oh, very
Lynne.
apt. Lynne Twist.
And as you can see, it's got lots of tickets in it. And these tickets live here.
Huh?
They're not put here just for this particular conversation because I've had this book for a long time and it's already I've scribbled. I don't generally scribble in books as much as I've scribbled in this one.
Uh, Always a
It was
sign
one
of
of
a very good book, I think.
it was one of those books that hit home.
Yeah. So when did you first read it?
I would say, I don't know when it was written actually. I would say it was one of the first money books I read. So I reckon it's got to be, I would say 2015,
Okay.
something like that. So nearly 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And there are a number of books in my life that I just go back to again and again and again and again and again. And this is very much, when you write your name in the front of the book, you know that's serious,
Yeah.
don't
You've
you?
gone back to school, haven't you?
Yes, it's mine. It's
Yeah.
mine. And yeah, and I absolutely love it. And I bought it for friends as well and had it dispatched to them so that they can read it too.
So tell me what has hit home with you most about reading that book?
So it's really interesting. So I think when we talk about money, we talk about scarcity, we talk about abundance, we talk about a scarcity and an abundance mindset. I think that's the two general things.
Yeah.
Lynne, first name terms, Lynne suggests the idea of sufficiency. And I sort of, first of all, when I first heard that, I didn't smart at it. I didn't sort of really smart at it, but I sort of went, put my curiosity hat on and thought, come on, let's think about this a bit more. And it's really interesting when you start to play with the words scarcity, abundance, enough, adequate, sufficiency, and all of those things. And the one thing that she explained in the book quite nicely is that sufficiency is almost an experience. And if you think about,
Okay.
let's say you sit down and you have, well, let's say you sit down and you have a lovely, lovely meal, and you get to the end of the meal, and you're not stuffed. You're not like, oh God, that wasn't very much. You feel totally fulfilled because it was sufficient. It's that gorgeous feeling of sufficiency, knowing that there's more to come should you wish it, but you have everything that you need to fulfill you at that moment.
Mm. Yeah, I get it. When you said sufficiency, first of all, I was like, oh, that sounds slightly negative almost. But when you explain it in terms of eating, then yeah, it makes more sense. Yeah, yeah,
Because I think when you think about the word sufficiency, it really encourages for me gratitude,
Mm.
because we sort of just that. One of the things that Lynne Twist says as well, she talks about the three myths of scarcity, and they are there's never enough,
Mm.
more is better, and that's just the way that it is.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think that's just such a brilliant way of thinking, because we're constantly told, we wake up in the morning, we've not had enough sleep, we've never got enough time, I'm not having enough, I haven't got enough work, I haven't got enough money, I haven't got enough this, I haven't got enough that, my phone's not got enough data, not enough channels, not enough
yeah,
clothes, everything. We're always not enough, not enough, not enough. Constantly never not enoughness. And then we always think that more is better. I mean, you've only got to put the television on and walk up and down the street. I mean, advertising billboards everywhere that are telling you that you have to have more of this and more of that and more this and more that. Or
yeah.
it's sometimes even, less than, limit this, because I don't know, it's always never enough.
Yeah. I think advertising, talked about this in season one, but we're bombarded by all these messages that tell us that you don't have enough, that you're not good enough, you don't smell good enough, your hair isn't shiny enough, your teeth aren't white enough, your car isn't whatever enough. We're constantly told that we are somehow kind of faulty, and the only way we can fix ourselves is to consume all these products and
Yeah.
services.
And interestingly, when you see those really snazzy car adverts and they've got, a man sitting in a car cruising along a lovely country mountain road, and, you need to have this fantastic new machine. But you know what? When it shows that, it doesn't show all the plastic toys and the car seats and the magazines and the empty cups and the six strewn over this. Do you know what I mean? It shows it empty, like it's got to have nothing in it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
I think the study for me, I think I'm at a space in my life as well where I'm really thinking about what I need and what I want to leave behind.
yeah.
And I find it very useful to take this view when I'm doing the money work with my people. I've actually got a little bit of a quote from the book, which
Oh,
is
lovely.
like a little bit, it's a little not, it's not hours long, but it's a little bit long, but it sort of sums up what I believe when it comes to money. Would you like me to read it?
Yes, I shall settle back and listen. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so it's okay. So money is like water. It can be a conduit for commitment, a currency of love. Money moving in the direction of our highest commitments nourishes our world and ourselves. What you appreciate appreciates. When you make a difference with what you have, it expands. Collaboration creates prosperity. True abundance flows from enough, never from more. Money carries our intention. If we use it with integrity, then it carries integrity forward. Know the flow. Take responsibility for the way your money moves in the world. Let your soul inform your money and your money express your soul. Access your assets, not only money, but also your own character and capabilities, your relationships and other non-money resources. We each have the power to shift, change, and create the conversation that shapes our circumstances. The levers and dials of conversation are ours to use. When we listen, speak, and respond from the context of sufficiency, we access a new freedom and power in our relationship with money and life.
I like that. Yeah. It really brings back that idea that money is a form of energy in a way. I know my own views on money have really shifted in the last 6 years or so, because I used to think of it as something evil, corrupting, and etc. But it really is about what your intention is behind your, drive or desire for money. Because what are you going to do with it? What is your end goal? And so if it's for good, then it feels like it's a good energy flow, and if it's not for good, then that's when it feels icky. But
Exactly.
yeah, and knowing what you need it for, want it for, and what that will bring for you, the people around you, the world on a larger scale potentially, that's quite special, isn't it?
Very special. And I see a lot of different situations with people and money. And, I see perceived empty pots, actual empty pots. I see money that is, the tap's turned on, but nothing comes out of it. And the focus on that empty tap. Like, but there's nothing coming out. And then on the other hand, I might see somebody who has what I call an extremely stagnant pond, which is maybe an investment or some kind of savings that's just stuck. There's no flow with it. It's
Yeah,
like you've got to keep adding a bit more, but it's essentially just sort of sitting there, and the energy around it is stagnant, and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
got a bit of a murky algae on the top.
yeah. There's a wonderful quote that Kristen Queen Lambert Gorwin always saying to me that money doesn't come to you because you deserve it. It comes to you because you stop resisting it. And
That's
it's
right.
about, letting those opportunities open to us and having that open mindset and being open to new possibilities
And
rather than
yeah,
being blink
no,
negative.
I completely agree. And to a certain extent, that's almost accepting that everywhere around you there is everything that's sufficient for all of our needs.
Yeah. Well, there
You
is.
know?
One of my brothers, bless him, he exists out of one suitcase. That's it. That's all the property he has in the world, just in one small suitcase.
Oh wow,
So
okay.
yeah, so you can live really well without having all of this stuff.
You can.
Um,
And living a frugal life. I mean, there's plenty of books and films and all sorts of things on frugal living. And it's interesting to try and find the balance as well. And again, I used to think that balance was where I really wanted to be in balance. But the point is, you're rarely ever completely balanced. You're always teeter tottering doing this. So actually, that's not even the ideal place. But finding that balance between, giving stuff away or not having things, etc. So I had a friend of mine. We went on a trek to Cambodia, and she decided not to take her phone, which meant that she didn't take any photographs, which meant she didn't take, it was like, what do they say? Take only memories and leave only footprints, right? But I mean, she didn't even take a photograph, which I think is sort of okay. But I like my photographs. There are certain, but again, I suppose it's trying to discern what you really like and what's important to you in your life.
yeah, and also it's only because you have the technology that allows you to take the photographs.
Yeah, good point.
So if you existed 100 years ago, this would not have been something. You probably wouldn't have gone to Cambodia either, to be fair. But, it's
Yeah,
for
but
thousands
it's
of years, humans have experienced and have treasured memories and
mm,
experiences that they haven't been able to, capture
no.
on film, but they've lived it and they've probably been more present in the moment, I'm guessing. You know?
Well, I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? It's like when you go to a concert and somebody spends the whole concert looking through. I mean, I just don't understand that at all.
Drives me nuts. Yeah, yeah. And what gets me is people will film something and then turn to the friend next to them and show them the video that they've just shown them of what they've been standing there watching the same thing. So why are you filming it? Why is the other person even entertaining watching it? I'm like, I'm watching it. Like, what?
And
Yeah,
actually, honestly, I mean, if I go to a concert or something like that, I was at a festival a couple of weeks ago. It was amazing. Had such a wonderful day, and I did a couple of tiny little videos, like 15 seconds.
yeah,
And that 15-second video for me is enough for me to spark the memory.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to watch the whole, I don't want to see the whole thing. I just want to go, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But
It does
yeah,
help
it's so
as you get older, I find, to have these little, oh yeah, I did that. Oh yeah, I went there. Like, hmm.
right, yeah. Don't remember. So when you look at photographs and then you suddenly realize, I have absolutely no recollection of this whatsoever.
Yeah, yeah. Whose wedding? What?
And then you start thinking about your childhood, don't you? And you think about, do I actually remember that experience as a child, or do I just remember the photograph?
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Mm. I remember I had one once where we were at home when I was about 6, I think. And we had a little constructed sort of swimming pool in the garden. And I climbed up the ladder to get into it. And I looked to my left, and there was an absolute huge swarm of bees on the tree. It was like, well, it was obviously not that big, but that's how big it seemed to me to be
In
at the time.
relation to you when you were 6 years old, it probably was.
Exactly. So, and I remember being the hero of the day because I very quietly got back down the ladder and went off and told mum without alerting all the other children. Because, but when I think back, I don't know whether I remember the story and I've just embellished it in my mind, or whether I just remember the photograph. It's funny, isn't it?
Well, either way, you've got a memory of it that
Yeah, yeah,
takes you back
yeah.
to that experience. I mean,
Definitely,
you know,
definitely.
otherwise we can go down that whole kind of rabbit hole of what is truth, your
What
truth
is
is different from
truth?
my
What
truth
is
and all that. So yeah, it's
what
all,
is reality? All those things.
yeah, yeah. So
Mm,
tell me,
yeah,
you read this book like
I did.
nearly 10 years ago.
Yeah.
What brought you to reading that kind of stuff in the first place?
Well, so it was about that time that I was decided to become a money coach for my sins, and
For your
really was
sins. What did
well.
you do wrong?
Well, the thing is, I wanted a career change. I've worked from home now for what, 24 years, and I was wanted to be at home while the girls were growing up. I used to work in television, in
Hmm.
entertainment, like yourself, and as a production manager, so I was on the other side of the camera, and it's not really a great career for when you're a mum. I don't think. I think people used to talk about production manager widows, television widows, the lady production managers, and I really didn't want to be one of those. So I gave up my career when Connie was conceived, and I decided that I was going to work from home part time. And I did that for a number of years. But as they started growing up, I decided I wanted to do something different with my life, and I just sort of been sitting behind a screen. So I thought I went to a career coach, and we came up with this idea of being a money coach. And to be honest, there weren't very many money coaches. I was sort of thinking, is this a thing? And we sort of went, well, even if it isn't a thing, why don't we make it a thing? Because people need to learn how to manage their money. So
Yeah,
essentially, I started being I suppose, teaching people to become their own personal bookkeeper. So I would charge clients some silly, very low amount of money to come along, and I would sit with them and use this money map that I had created for myself because I was good at managing my own money. And I realized that even though some of these people were managing lots of money in budgets at work or running their own businesses and quite good with their business accounts, when it came to their personal accounts, it was a different kettle of fish. And
yeah.
when
Relate
you
to
know
that. Mm.
Yeah, yeah, and I had somebody pretty much vomit on me. I had somebody pretty much pass out rather than look at their online bank account. I had lots of people who seemed very desperate to ask me if they wanted to mow my lawn or clean my loo or wash the kitchen floor instead of actually doing the work that we were supposed to do. And I'll hand on my heart, I was going, well, I can't think what's the matter with these people because I find this easy enough. And
Yeah.
it was then I realised that there was such a thing called a relationship with money. So I decided to explore it. And this was one of the books that I read. And that opened my eyes to it. There are some wonderful stories in this book, you know.
Yeah.
There's stories about how she met Mother Teresa, and stories about the Ashwa tribe of the Amazon. It's a very, very hearty book, I have to say.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I
So
mean,
yeah, so I basically had to work out about people. I thought my relationship with money, by the way, was perfect. I thought I
was
was the
it?
best. No, uh, no, because then I found this lady, which is Deborah Price, and she is the CEO of the Money Coaching Institute in America. And I
Oh, okay.
applied to become a money coach, a certified money coach, and went and did a whole load of training with her. And that was when my walls came tumbling down.
Ah, funny that you got a book called Money Magic because I read another book called Money
I
Magic
know.
by Michelle Masters, and I found that really helpful, especially when it came to the relationship part, because I, like you, had never thought, oh, I have a relationship with money. It's just like money was
Mm,
something there. Blah, blah, blah. Um, and in it, she suggests that you write like a Lonely Hearts ad or something to money
yes,
based on how you currently treat money. So
yes,
at the point when I read it, it would have read something along the lines of, "Yeah, I really want you in my life, but I'm not really going to take much notice of you, and yeah, I don't want to look at you too much. I'll just use you and abuse you."
yeah,
You know, and I thought, well, that's a terrible way to approach a relationship, isn't it? So yeah, that really helped me to understand,
yeah,
oh, think more
yeah,
kindly
and
about money and being more appreciative of it as well, like you said, the gratitude element.
mm,
Yeah.
well, you know, my sort of thing is if you're going to treat money like an unwanted tag along, why should it hang around?
Well, yeah, this is exactly it. In my case, it never did. So there you go. Yeah.
You know, why bother? So yeah, so I went there and did all my training as a couples money coach and obviously individual money coach, and I do group coaching as well now. And yeah, realized that my relationship with money was not that great. But what I also found out after my training there, which I think is really important, which is why I went on to do the therapy training, is that some of the our relationship with ourselves is very often projected by money. So money is a great projector.
Yeah.
So where people come to me and they go, you know, I can't, you know, can't manage my, it's what's underneath that really, and it's not always what a lot of people say. Well, you know, what messages were you given when you were a child, and what, how did your parents model money, and what's your, you know, what's your ancestry when it comes to money and all that kind of stuff. And yes, all of that stuff is important. It is important, but there are other things as well. So, for instance, the children that were constantly called stupid, the children that were told that they were bad, this, you know, there wasn't particularly necessarily unconditional love in the relationship with in the parental relationship, and all sorts of other things too. You know,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
tended to come up in my early work with people, that I suddenly went, I need to go a bit deeper with this, and actually having some kind of therapy qualification would, I think, would help both me
Yeah.
and, and my customers.
So how has that made a difference to you in your working, Fanny, now that you've gained this extra tool set and you're able to help people in a different way? Are you getting different outcomes for people, or
Oh yeah,
are
yeah,
you?
definitely. The way I approach things is different now. So I incorporate where, I mean, obviously I don't therapize everybody, but
Yeah.
let's say, for instance, I run a group called My Money Makeover, which I'm actually running at the moment. My approach to the different people in the room, who I have a sort of a basic understanding of their backstory, etc. And you know, they've come to me for certain reasons. Should I come on the course? And I go, yeah, why don't you, you know, why don't you come? So I've got a bit of a knowledge of theirs. And so learning NLP and just learning different therapeutic methods, enables me to use my language and just be careful in how I approach them. And then obviously offer therapy along the way.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Well, that's
Mm.
fantastic. And this is sort of, and it was all started by reading the book by Lynne Twist, right?
Well, I mean, it all
Was it?
started with my money story, really. I mean, I wanted to always be wealthy. I made a promise to myself to become a millionaire when I was 10 years old, because I had an unfortunate situation whereby my family's money was lost all overnight when a relative gave it all away through blackmail, and it affected our family deeply, very deeply. It was a very tricky time, and so I guess I put it out into the universe that I was never going to be poor, and I was
Yeah.
always going to be wealthy. And then sort of picked up the habits along the way to enable that to happen. But I did it all through fear. And that's when it was going to the Money Coaching Institute that I realized, actually, yeah, you might be actually good at having money, but how many little stagnant ponds have you got sitting around? And I did. And I realized that my way of doing it was not particularly healthy.
Mm.
So I needed to work on that. I needed to bring out what we call, I work with money archetypes. I needed to bring out my magician and my warrior and put away the tyrant.
Mm. And is that tyrant family in a box now somewhere, or do they pop their head up every now and then?
It's pretty good these days, actually. But I think it helps that I'm got to a certain age, and life, it's just realizing that life can be a lot easier. I mean, if I was, I have to admit, if I was a young adult now, I think things are difficult.
Mm.
I think things are very difficult for young people. I've got two daughters, 23 and 19. And even though they're both doing very well, I can see how tricky it is to
Mm.
do what you want to do. I mean, I've just been away for 3 days in sunny Lyme Regis. And you're racking up a good bill to go out and have just a nice time of having coffees and going out and staying in a hotel. It's like,
Totally.
it's tough.
Yeah.
It's just not as easy. And I do see in my work people who are considered to be pretty highly paid who are now choosing which bills they can pay.
Yeah. That's scary, isn't it?
It
Yeah.
is. It is. And
Oh.
we sort of look at the wealthy. I think it's easy to look at the wealthier people and go, well, it was your choice to do that. But actually, when you in of recent times, with price increases, the cost of living crisis, interest rate hikes, where are they're the knock-on effect of that for them can sometimes be even greater when
Yeah.
they've
I mean, this is the important thing, isn't it? We all have to put aside our whatever we might think about certain groups of people. We're all human,
yeah
and we're all subject to those same fears or elations, or you know in varying degrees. And yeah, just because you perceive someone to be totally, enormously wealthy in your eyes, and oh diddums, they can't afford to pay their mortgage, well, just buy a smaller house, kind of, it obviously that's a solution. But all I'm saying is that just be kind to everyone, because
Well, it's not always a solution. It's not always a solution when you're sort of heading towards negative equity,
well,
and
that's
then
true.
you've got
Yeah,
the cost of moving and stamp duty and all that kind of
yeah,
stuff. It isn't always a solution.
yeah,
They say, "Well,
yeah,
always take your children out of private school." Well, actually, it's not always a solution because there aren't any spaces in the local comprehensive. So they're going to have to do. It's just, I think we all need to be a little bit kinder to each other.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, absolutely. I think that too.
when it
Yeah.
comes
um yeah.
And if thinking about how we speak about people's situations, noticing our language is then thinking about what kind of personal poverty we are in by the kind of things that we say.
Yeah, and I guess when you're saying personal poverty, you're not necessarily talking just about how much money you've got or haven't got,
No, I'm really
about,
not.
how full our heart is of kindness and joy, and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, one of the things that I love to work with is what I call self-wealth. And there's a really great way, I think, for people. There's a bit of lots of people have heard of the Wheel of Life exercise. I think you put, yeah, and it's like a circle and it's divided up like a pizza.
Yeah.
And each of the 8 slices has a topic. So it might be, one might be money, job, significant other, your home environment, personal development, etc., etc. So each of the 8 segments is given one. And I went through a bit of a blip last year when I was doing my master practitioner with the therapy. And I decided, I thought, well, I don't know what to do. I'll look at my Wheel of Life. And I realised that it was really wonky because the idea is that you score each
Yeah.
segment, zeros in the middle and tens up here. And you score each segment of where you think you are right now with each of those areas of your life. And my wheel was very wonky. And what you really want is a nice, big, smooth wheel. And mine was all.
Yeah. Most
So I
people have at
started.
least one segment that's like, "Nope," don't they?
Exactly. And so I started working on that, and it was then I sort of was thinking about the concept of self-wealth, in the fact that each of those segments are just as important as each other. They're all as important as each other. But one thing that I did notice is that the money one really seems to affect all the others more than the others. You know, if you want to go on holidays, or you want a nice home, or you want to keep health and all this kind of stuff, generally it costs money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Staying healthy actually does cost money. Right.
So
Yeah.
if you look after your wealth, i.e. money in the bank and your finances, and just do what you need to do with that, it can really help promote self-wealth generally.
Yeah, yeah. As they say, money's not important, but with it's along there with oxygen, right? Because can't live without oxygen, and it's pretty difficult in the Western world where we live at this moment in time to live without money.
Yeah.
So
And I
yeah.
think one of the first things is to say it's okay to say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's okay to talk about money, isn't it? And this is what a lot of people struggle with. They shy away from talking about it because I don't know, fear of judgment or yeah.
And
And
it's very and it's very easy to say something that's smart. Somebody went, oh, it's very easy to say something that's
yeah, yeah.
not going to go down that well. I've done it plenty of times.
I'm sure you must have done if you're helping people with their money mindset. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Fanny, it's been absolute delight to talk to you today, and I hope that this podcast has inspired some people to go away and have a look at how they think about money and maybe pick up the book that you brought along to the conversation or any of the others that we've spoken about. I will put the details of them all in the description of the show. And thank you once again, Fanny. And yeah, see you all in the next podcast. Remember to like and subscribe and tell your friends.
Like and subscribe and tell your friends.
Take care. Bye.